So facing inner demons for me is, I believe personally, one of the world's biggest problems. I think if everyone really took the time to address the problems they have going on and bring them to light and confront those demons that they think are causing problems in their lives, the world would be a lot better place. And that might be obvious to you. That might be obvious to you if you're watching this video. It might seem that obvious, but you'd be surprised to how many people it's almost a foreign concept to them, and particularly men. And over my years of talking to guys that struggle with mental health, you quickly get a sense, especially the guys that don't want to talk about it, which, as I've spoke before, is a common, very, very common concept. And as I'm sure you know, watching this video, you know that you try to talk to a guy about his mental health, and he'll likely, I would say, maybe even 90% of the time, brush it off and brush you away. And a lot of the time, it's because they're quite often afraid to face their inner demons. You know, I think we all are deep down, because you're scared of what you might come across, you know. And of course there's multiple reasons for that. There can be, excuse me, my glasses are steaming up, it's roasting today. You could have of course past traumas, or there's multiple reasons why you might not want to face those demons. But when it comes to men, yeah, I particularly noticed that they don't want to talk about it. And I find it fascinating, because you know, if you're someone who struggled with mental health, and as I said, you spoke to a guy and they brush you off, they quite often feel like you're psychoanalyzing them, and you're trying to, well, they become vulnerable, I suppose. And as I've spoke about in videos before, a lot of guys feel like that, and that's why a lot of guys don't talk. But it's vital, especially for men. And I learned that in my mid-20s, that if you don't face your inner demons, you'll just project it somewhere else. You'll have a drink. I don't need to explain what happens. You know, we all know that. But the problem is, society nowadays, it can become quite normalised. I know for a fact that growing up, you know, you go out and there'd be the guys doing hard drugs, and you know, there'd be the odd guy that has a drink, but you'd have guys that are doing a lot more, and they were genuinely people that I think deep down were suffering. And I suppose we're too young at the time to really talk to them about it. But this is why I'm here, why I'm talking on this camera, so that, you know, if you've got a friend like that, you can talk to them about it. But yeah. So the first major reason, obvious reason, is your mental health. Like, I think if you to face your inner demons, it will benefit your mental health, and this is one of the big benefits. And obviously that's such a broad spectrum. I'm not I can't just sit here and be like, yeah, for your mental health. Obviously there's a lot of factors that come into that, whether it's a bespoke anxiety or a bespoke type of stress. But facing those challenges head on, and those aspects of yourself that you have maybe neglected for quite some time, will immediately, and I mean immediately, improve your mental health. You will learn something about yourself, and then you'll be like, oh, I know why I do that, I know why I do this, and that's why my life's gone this way for quite some time. It's that thing of chronically not addressing something that is causing anxiety or stress. And a lot of guys are conscious of this. They know they're doing something that's causing the problem, or they know they might even be around someone that's causing the problem, or be in a situation. And obviously you can't, you know, if you've got a job you hate, it's not, you know, it's all good me sitting here saying that. You can't just walk away and be like, all right, I'm happy now, but I've got no money. Obviously it's not as simple as that. But addressing these deep-seated anxieties and maybe even trauma can stop them ballooning up, you know, can stop them growing. And a psychologist I spoke to years ago said that when we visualize our problems, we tend to see them above. You know, we look at them above, and we almost see them as a big cloud, whether we're aware of it or not, but we do. And he gave me a great tip, and I found it incredibly useful. And he said to take this big cloud and turn it into this, you know, the size of a coin, and just look at it on the floor. And he said that just that little action would you know, put it in a perspective of what it can do to you. And I used to do it every morning. I used to imagine my problems coming down into a small form. But yeah, attacking those anxieties and those stresses head on will ultimately lead to an easier path. It can't get worse, can it? You know, if you face these demons early, it can't get worse. It can't get worse than it's going to, because it will only become worse. If you hit them head on, you know, it's like nipping a weed in the bud, you know, the classic saying. It's exactly the same. And the second benefit, you know, of course, comes under the sort of branch of mental health, but it's personal growth. You will considerably discover a lot about yourself, and you'll realise why you did such things, and you probably look back on your life and you'll be like, oh, I did those things because I was in that state. And as I spoke about before, it's always going to be a long process. It's always going to be a battle of, you know, you're going to, for your whole life, going to have ups and downs with your mental health. But I feel, once again, guys, I find personal growth is a term that I suppose a lot of guys see it as like a cheesy term, or they're like cringed out by it. They sort of think that means they have to sit there doing yoga and meditating, and you know, and a lot that does benefit a lot of people, and a lot of guys do like that. But there's a certain, you know what I'm talking about, there's a certain bunch of guys that would laugh that off and wouldn't dare be seen doing it. But it's those fellows you have to get through to with that sort of stuff. I understand personal growth, but they have to sort of find their bespoke way of doing it, and it's tough. The first part, facing your demons and your long-seated demons, is the tough part. But then you suddenly enter this personal growth, and it's, you know, I've said it before, it's like unlocking a door that you haven't been able to get through for years. This personal growth, it's only up from there, and you can do a lot of work on yourself. And I think your insecurities come into play with that. If you can hit them head on and overcome the hurdles of your insecurities, and understand that you are most likely doing something that you think isn't an insecure sort of emotional behaviour, but you are. And this is why quite often you have conversations with anyone, you know, particularly more so I find with guys I find guys can get annoyed when you sort of come at them with, oh, I think you're doing this because of this, and as I said, they think you're trying to analyse them, but you're trying to help them. But like I said, all people experience that if you say, I think you do that because of that. And obviously it's not my place to tell anyone anything, but if you see someone who's struggling, you know, it almost does become your place. If you know someone is very withdrawn, struggling, drinking too much, very quiet, if you can see it in their eyes, you know, I don't need to tell you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can talk to those people and say, have you maybe thought it's this? Have you maybe thought that this isn't that great for you? But do it in an advance and retreat method. You know, you can't go all in. Because some guys just will get aggressive immediately and the walls will come up, and I'm telling you that because I was like that. I was like, no, what are you talking about? Not me. Shh. But it was me. And I think the third reason is to become authentic. If you let go of all those limitations of your inner demons and things that society have maybe even put on you, you know, that classic cliche of you should act this way or do that, you know, and we all experience it. You will become considerably more authentic. And obviously, ultimately, the game is to be yourself. But people rarely are themselves, and you see it a lot nowadays. Like everyone is very good at putting a persona on of pretending that there's something they're not, and it's quite interesting. You almost get some people with split personalities. Like you don't know which one the real one is. You know, like they're coming one day to say you're at work, or you might even be someone in your family, and they're one way, and then the next day they're another way, and you don't know which one's the real person, you know. And I think that society's gone that way so much with personas that we can quite often not even know who we're talking to. And guys are really good at putting personas on, and as we see with quite often, unfortunately, the fellas that take their own lives, you know, they'll be smiling, playing with their children the day before it happens, or that evening they'll take their own life, and it's incredibly sad that they can put on such a good persona and not ask for help. And that reason's massive for me, that being authentic, because I find the guys I've spoken to in the past who have really, really done some work on themselves and understood that they are who they are, and when they get really deep down and see their authentic self, it's quite good to see, and quite blossoming, and they're sort of unapologetically themselves. And I don't mean walking around being rude and being obnoxious, you know. I mean really just not really caring about the outside elements, and it's tough to do, man. It's really, really tough to do, especially now, especially social media. You know, I hope to be coming through pockets of YouTube helping people, to be honest, amongst all the sort of, you know, the good and the bad. Of course it's not all bad, but there's some terrible stuff out there, isn't there, you know, and the algorithm just sends you more terrible stuff if you're getting wound up by the terrible stuff, and we're all victim to it. But yeah, just take those 3 reasons away if you're watching this, and try to work on yourself. It's a very brief sort of look into it, but for me, that's 3 reasons why men need to face their inner demons. And please comment if I was too brief. Let me know, and I'll go into a bit more detail, and I can take each rule and break it down a bit better for you if you like. But yeah, really, really try to understand that you have to work on yourself. Don't worry about others. Don't worry about what they're thinking and what they're doing. Of course, it's very hard to do, as I always say over and over again. It's very hard to do that, but just work on yourself. Understand. I don't mean you have to lock yourself away in a room and become a recluse and mysterious. And if you think back to when you were a child, that's the most authentic you will have ever been. And of course, we all didn't have great upbringings, but just pick snippets and work on it. Take yourself there. Speak soon, friends.